Plugin of the week is the Universal Audio, along with brainworx, Ampeg SVT-VR. So this is a plugin emulation. There's actually two plugin or two amplifiers that brainworx emulated, and this is part of the Universal Audio collection. And one is the SVT-3 Pro, which is a more recent one, and you see the whole amplification setup here. And then you can see here the original Ampeg SVT. And so what we have here, the Ampeg company is and made famous probably mostly by this particular amp, the SVT amp, which they came out with in the late 60s. And this was sort of an answer for bass players to the much louder guitar rigs, particularly with Marshall making like insanely loud guitar amps, powerful guitar amps. This original Ampeg VR was a 300-watt amplifier, weighed 95 pounds. So to kind of put that in metric terms, that would be something around, in the 40s in terms of kilograms. So pretty heavy duty, 14 tubes. This was a monster. SVT stands for super vacuum tube. So this is quite a heavy, big amplifier, and it came with a cabinet that had 8 10-inch speakers built into it, and so there was also a piezo horn that was included in it, which gave it like a very unique character. And this is a classic amplifier from that era. So I wanted to show you both of them, just so you could kind of see this. So there's a collection of them, or a collection of the two, but what we're really going to focus on today is the SVT VR. And so I'm going to kind of zoom in on this, and let's just see, kind of work in my vocal track or my bass track here for a second. So let me just kind of skew this over a little bit, solo it up, and let's take a look at it. So when we look at the amp, there's actually a lot of really cool features that emulate what happens with the original. You have 4 places that you can plug in. If you plug into the bright channel, it'll give you a brighter tone coming in, or sort of a little bit more of a cleaner, more present sound. And you can bring it into channel 1, which uses this amplification setup here, or channel 2, which gives you this, a simplified amplification setup. If you plug into the normal, it will give you a different tonal character. And again, you can plug into channel 1 or into channel 2. So this gives you some flexibility in terms of setting it up. And what you have is a number of basic features. Volume, so that's pretty explanatory. So this would be like an output volume. You have a treble control, mid-range control, bass control. Some of these settings will work in conjunction with some of the features that are up here. So for example, if you boost the treble, normally it'll boost at 4 kilohertz, and that's on channel 1 or channel 2. The treble control will basically do the same. And what this boost switch, or this ultra high switch, when engaged, what it does is it enhances that effect. Same thing with the bass. The bass basically always boosts at 40 hertz, and you can select that on the same on either side, but you have the ability to cut those low frequencies. So you have a bass cut to thin out the sound, turn it off, or you can actually, with the ultra low, enhance the characteristics of that bass boost, or attenuation. So what you're getting is, and it's basic setup sound here in the center, you're getting nothing. So this would be attenuating bass, this would be boosting bass. And most of the time what you get with amplifiers is a simple like 0 to 10 type of thing, and it's always basically like a boost characteristic where you're determining how much low end, and then you're kind of blending the different tones to set the character up of the sound. So those are the basic setups there with the ultra low and ultra high settings. Those are basically enhancements. And then when you work with the mid-range control, it's kind of cool because it gives you some variation. At its low setting, it gives you 220. In the mid setting, it gives you 800 cycles and 3K on the high end. And this allows you to kind of work with the different boost ranges. You have an on-off switch over here, so we can kind of switch this on or off. And the rest of it is just plugging in and going. Now, one of the cool things about putting this particular setup in a Universal Audio setup is that if you open up the console, you plug your bass right into your Universal Audio interface, and you run it through their console app, then you could put this on and you could track it in real time. There's some cool features which they add in. So if you, aside from the normal stuff that you find here with the brainworx plugins in terms of their controls and ability to store different settings and setups and all that other sort of stuff. There's an effects rack here, and what this opens up here is a couple of things. One, you have a gate control. So the gate control can be, enabled or turned off. And so what it has is sort of like a soft release so that it gets rid of noise but doesn't cut down on the sustain of notes. So that's kind of an important factor to consider, sort of like what you would do with kind of a pedal effect. And then you have a range control to determine how much it dips. You can also set this to work pre-processing. You can turn it off altogether. You could have it set to work pre-processing, and so when you put it pre-processing, it will gate the direct signal before the amplification, or you can have it gate afterwards. So if you have a noisy bass, you would do it beforehand. If you have, if the amplification settings, enhance that noise, you could do it afterwards. And then it also has filters, so you can actually filter the top and bottom, and you could filter the amplification, right? So you can actually filter the sound going into the amp, or you can put these high pass, low pass filters after the amplification. So you have some additional controls here for working, with the amp itself. You have an input gain control, and this is pretty straightforward. So that if you have like a single coil bass, maybe the gain isn't strong enough, you can kind of bring the gain in, crank it in a little bit higher. It also has kind of a cool feature, which is a power soak feature. This is meant to emulate putting a power soak on an amp. So the idea of having a power soak, and this was, there were a couple different companies that made them. I think one of the more famous ones was designed by the guy from Boston who made the Guitar Man thing, right? That you'd plug into. It was like your Rockman, and he built a power soak thing that you would plug into the amplifier, because what it would do is it would take and it would put a load on the output of the amplifier the same way that it would be running through a speaker, because particularly with those types of designs at that time with amplifiers, if you didn't feed the output of the amp into a speaker, then what would happen is you could actually literally blow up the amp because there was nothing sort of absorbing the power output. But what this does is it would go in between, and when you plugged it into this power soak, it would bring down some of the power so you could overdrive and really crank up the amp settings without actually pushing the volume through the speaker. So it would allow you to really rock out at a lower volume. So that was really... it's kind of a cool thing. So you can kind of throw that in there as well. Now, an element of this that kind of makes this really cool is a couple things. One, the piezo horn element, you could put that in, which adds like a nice tonal richness or like a focus on the sound. And that was kind of like a purposeful thing and was kind of part of it. But then you also have a whole bunch of different amp setups. So you can go with the standard 8x10 cabinets that they had, and you would get different miking setups here. So you're not controlling and kind of moving around the individual mics, but they give you really good quality sounding setups, and we'll kind of go through them. The 1x15 cabinets, 4x10s, etc. Or if you just wanted to go without it and just basically run through the amplifier, get that character and sound without actually running through a cabinet, then you can run it that way as well. So this is kind of meant to be kind of part of what they call the recording chain. And so you can just, kind of record and track that. You can toggle through those presets here just by clicking on the plus minus buttons. And then there's a really cool feature here which they add in, which is an auto feature. And what it'll do is it'll toggle through the different presets, and then you could determine after how many bars, like maybe every 2 bars, what it'll do as you're playing and you're playing the sound, it will kind of audition based on the tempo of the song. Can you kind of see it? It'll just kind of go through the presets. So as you're playing, you don't have to like stop, click on the next preset, and then play, click on the next preset, play. You could just kind of let it, and when you hear one that you like, it's like, oh, 7. Then you stop it, and then you go and you load in 7 if that was the one that you want, which is kind of cool. It's kind of an interesting thing. I've never seen anything like that put into any kind of plugins. It's a really cool way of kind of laying that out. So let's focus a little bit on the sound and kind of bringing some things in here. So I'll start with the standard setup right here, and let's kind of go through some of the basic controls here and how this works. So we'll start with a simple bass sound. Let me just kind of zoom out here, scroll down to where the bass is playing. There we go. And let's just kind of pick it right up from the beginning. So this is without anything, so we already have a little bit of a loss of gain here. Let's just kind of go through some of the different settings here. So I'll just kind of zero everything out, sort of to the stock settings. So I'm just option clicking on this. I got a power control here, which takes it out of the circuit. Turn the gate off here for a second. And we'll turn kind of all of this circuitry off here. So when we plug in, we can plug into some of the different things. So we can plug into the bright channel or to the normal gain. And to the bright channel here, which gives us this amplifier. So you could hear that with the normal you're getting, let's kind of back off here. All right, this is just to prevent clipping here, but I don't want it to affect the sound of what we're doing here. So let's kind of focus on that. So as I go through the different settings, I'll get like a fuller, more overdrive setting down here in the normal and a little bit of a cleaner sound with the bright. So let's kind of work here on this with a normal setting. So you can hear the richness in the tone if I want to bring in a little more presence. Like a just really great focused kind of clarity that you can get on that. You also have a nice tone control that gives you like a low mid, like more of a drive kind of characteristic. An 800, which is a really great way of focusing a bass on smaller speakers to really get it to stand out. Or a nice, really bright present up in the 3K range. And that 220 setting is a real power setting, you know, really good for, really great for, you know, like a driving kind of bass. So just that alone gives you some really cool controls. And then we got the bass control, which can cut. That's the normal boost. And this, the effect of this will be, of course, affected by the note. And now if we run into the second channel, you can hear already we get a bit more of an edgier kind of sound. So again, we can get the enhanced, bring in a little bit more of a treble thing here. Again, we can enhance. Give you like a bit more driving, ballsy kind of sound. But then if I switch into the bright input, get much more of a clean kind of tone. And it really, you know, it's amazing because it really, really captures that kind of SVT kind of characteristic. So let's kind of work with this a little bit, start from here, and then kind of go through some of the different settings here. Because if I wanted to focus this in a little bit more, I can bring in a little bit of focus here with the horn. Takes away a little bit of that nasal, a little bit of the nasally character of the bass, of the dry, direct bass. And then I can go through different cabinet options. And this is completely flat without anything there. So you have basically 24 presets that you can work from, and you can kind of select them independently. And each one has a very distinctive character. So if you were working with something like this in a mix, you may just select this, the correct one for the particular track, just by kind of toggling through the different settings, or using the for this particular sound, I think probably what I would do, I'm not like at a good starting place because I was just kind of doing it naked, but I would probably start with a bit of a cleaner tone for this particular track. And then now it's just toggling through the different presets. All right, so just so it doesn't kind of go on forever here, I think one of these guys in here is probably going to be kind of a... And you probably selected a different one. So we'll go with the 409 mic. Classic bass mic. And then I can adjust, tone. So you can hear like the depth and character that it kind of brings in. Maybe I should have brought the overall volume up a little bit by comparison to my voice. But the richness and the character and the different like tonal options that you have here is really amazing when you just start flipping through all of the different parameters here, just with the different microphones and amp setups. And rather than getting into a thing where you're sort of independently selecting cabinets and then microphones and then being able to move them around, that almost creates too many possibilities. And the idea and what they wanted to accomplish here, it's like, let's get really a good high number of quality presets with really top end miking techniques and setup and things that are used in professional studios by very experienced engineers all the time, so that you don't have to have that experience in terms of knowing what to go to, when to go to, and how to kind of move things around. You can kind of work very nicely and quickly through presets that are all very high quality and you just have so much tonal variation with some of the different controls. It seems very simple on the surface, but when you start really digging into it, it's really amazing. And we didn't even get into working with any of the filtering or any of that type of stuff to kind of smooth out the top end or tighten up the low end and kind of balance those things out. Really powerful plugin. Was very excited when I saw this come out on the Universal Audio platform, and a really great one because bass and in particular is always a very difficult thing to manage, and this is like just a classic rock bass sound that for the right track, and that includes a lot of them, is like a really nice fit. So really good one. Plugin of the week is the Universal Audio in conjunction with brainworx Ampeg SVT-VR.